If you want to grab our men's lifestyle supplement, Male Advantage ebook, or my personal workout and diet plan, all links are in the bio. Okay guys, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be talking about LooksMaxxing, which, isn't really something you're used to hearing on this channel. I tend to stay away from the whole red pill, black pill thing. I don't particularly like that element of the men's community. But by default, sometimes you just cross lines with it. And also, when you have like a belief system like myself, like I don't particularly believe in any like designated belief system, but I obviously have my own. I believe in certain things like way of life, etc. Well, sometimes it just coincides with a certain ideology, and it just like if you were to shoebox me somewhere, you would probably put me in the red pill category. A lot of my beliefs do align with that industry, and one of the terms that I'm often coming across is LooksMaxxing, and I've kind of accidentally become the authority in this, I think, in that spectrum, if you would. And I don't say that to be arrogant or whatever, and I don't particularly think I look like fucking Brad Pitt. I'm not saying it in that sense. But what I'm saying is I don't know if there's anybody who knows as much about fitness, water retention, orthotropics, facial exercises, submental exercises, which I kind of invented. And like I know I didn't invent neck exercises, but the whole idea of doing it for aesthetics and submental. And everything combined, kind of like skin and fashion and whatever. Like I don't know if anybody's doing them all as a complete package, like orthotropics, all that shit. I don't know if anybody, like there are people doing it for fitness. There's people who are designated to orthotropics, but I don't know if there's anybody who's saying, look, I do these 8 things at once. And it's a kind of like a calculated system to get the best out of your face, to get the best out of your looks. And what I believe I've invented is like the perfect system to looks max yourself to the highest possible limit, okay? And I'm going to go through a few of those components today with you. So number one, the first one is a 2-year bulk. I was actually talking to some 22-year-old guy at the gym about this earlier. And he's putting on a little bit of size. He lost some gains in COVID. And he was like, what should I do in terms of my fitness? I was like, well, bulk for 2 years. I was like, you're 22 years old. Like, you can get fat and ugly by 24, which is the aim, okay? And people were saying, LooksMaxxing, isn't that the idea? To make yourself look as good as possible. Why would I want to get fat and ugly? It's a necessary part of the journey, guys. Like, in order to be the best possible version of yourself as a man, you have to get fat first, because as a man, you have to bulk up. You have to put on some water weight. You have to put on that muscle, and, by default, you're going to have to put on some fat. That's just how the system works, okay? You put on muscle, you gain fat. That's how you know a lot of people are on steroids, because they just go muscle and they're still like 8% body fat. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Like I bulked up to like 100 kilograms in winter last year, and I've cut that down now to like 80. I'm about 85, 86 now that I've gone back into maintenance, okay? So there's like a 14 kilogram drop of fat and probably a minimal amount of muscle. And that's how you end up getting that body that you require. But in the early days, anybody who's got a seriously good body, and Steve, the personal trainer who often comes on this podcast, used to say that anybody who's got a seriously good body who like ends up looking the best is usually a power lifter or a strong man to begin with. And a lot of guys say, yeah, but Chris, like girls don't like guys who are like puffy and bulky and whatever. Yeah, but that's not the end goal here. There was a time when I was puffy and bulky, I had this big water buffalo face, I was making videos on hollow cheeks, and people were in the comments saying, but this guy doesn't have hollow cheeks, he's full of shit, he's garbage. But I was holding like a ton of water, and I had like 25% body fat. But once you cut it all down, it comes together, okay? And getting fat, bulking up, is almost a necessary part of LooksMaxxing. You have to get ugly before you look good. It's just necessary. Try and do it off the bat and cut and get a 6-pack straight away and go down to 10% body fat. Yeah, you're going to look better, but you'll never look as good as if you bulk first and then cut afterwards. And because you get your beginner gains at the start of any like fitness journey, it pays to just do like 2 years of consistent bulking. Now that might involve bulk for 3 months, maintenance for a month, bulk, maintenance, strongman, change it to powerlifting, little month of hypertrophy. But the whole kind of idea, the whole premise of what you're doing for the 2 years is to gain size, strength, and muscle mass, if you would, and eat an excess of calories. So it might only be a surplus of 100. You might go crazy and bump it up too much. Wouldn't recommend it because I think you're going to gain too much fat. You're going to blow out your testosterone levels as well. But if you can just steadily bulk for like 2 years and get yourself to like 100 kg plus. Now, obviously, that comes entwined with height as well. You could be like 5'7". Well, that's just not quite realistic. That might make you ill to get to that point. You might end up bulking to like 88 kilograms, and that makes you fucking huge. Okay, but it's a necessary part to get fat, puffy, watery, ugly, whatever it might be in the beginning, to gain the necessary size so that when you cut and you continue lifting heavy, okay, guys, this is a massive key to LooksMaxxing. When you're cutting, continue lifting the heavy weights. Kind of do the strongman bulking type of training, but your calories change. So your carbs come down to about 80 to 100 grams per day. And you have a calorie deficit of about 300 to 600 calories, consistently over a linear fashion, and you'll end up becoming the best version of yourself. So that's what every guy needs to do at some point. If you haven't done that, you're nowhere near your full potential, okay? If you're the ugliest guy in the world, that will change the game for you. It will change your face structure, which is crazy. And the second one is orthotropics. I've explained this on this channel before. If you don't know, go and search orthotropics videos. It basically combines muscle usage with oral posture. So, quick example. A lot of people watch TV, a mouth will be open like that while they're watching it. If you strengthen these jaw muscles by chewing mastic gum, for example, that I chew, I've got some here. There it is. Right, if you're chewing something like that, you get that from Greece. It takes quite a while to arrive, to be fair. That will strengthen the jaw muscles here. So when you're watching TV, unconsciously, this will be strong enough to keep your mouth closed. When your mouth is closed, your tongue is more likely to be on the roof of your mouth. Okay, when it's on the roof of your mouth, it's expanding the teeth because it pushes them outwards, which expands the palate, which makes you better looking. It gives you this wider face and wider smile. It also drives up the palate at the top, which is sitting on the maxilla bone, which literally dominates the center of the face. When it pushes that maxilla bone upwards and forwards, you get a more attractive face. I think they call this the zygo bones, I think. Well, but basically the cheekbones, they go upwards, slightly outwards and forwards and whatever, and the whole face just becomes more attractive. And the jawline acts like a hinge, according to Mike Mew, who's the real expert. And he said if the maxilla moves forward, the hinge has to follow. You get a better jawline, okay? And there's all these different elements to orthotropics, but it basically revolves around that. And then some people say orthotropics is bullshit. It's bro science. Now, I've visited Mike Mew, okay, and I've seen some of his patients before and after. It works better in kids because of growth hormones, but it does work in adults too. And the reason it's undeniable is because it's the simple process of bone remodeling or calcification, okay, which is just a process that happens in the body. Your bones remodel. The growth hormones remodel the bones. It's just in kids, you get 100% remodeling per year. Because they're growing at an accelerated rate, they have an increase in growth hormones, which is through the roof. As you get older, that diminishes. And your bones remodel at a much slower pace. But over the period of like guys in their 20s and 30s, which is the majority of my audience, anybody less than that, yeah, it's easy, it's going to work, right? But majority of my audience are like 25 roughly, 25 years old. Yes, you can still do it, but it's going to take like 5 to 10 years. But if you're 25 and you do a complete remodel of your face by 35, is that not worth it? You're in the male advantage years and you look probably 3 times better than you did when you were 25. Plus the bulk, etc., and all the other stuff I'm going to go through. It's worth it. And it's just, here's the thing with bones, okay? Bones are influenced by the strength and positioning of the muscles, okay? Or like the strength and the size of the muscles. So bone positioning might be like this. The muscle might be weak, due to a certain posture, and the muscle being weak, the bone starts to like fold inwards like that. It might be like a recessed chin. Whereas if the muscle is really strong and it's holding everything in place and it's constantly acting on that bone, bones are really good at resisting a lot of force. So you bench press, comes down on your chest, you push it back up. You don't suddenly have a impress in your chest. You don't have a dip, okay? But if you kept that bench press on your chest for like 3 years, eventually there'd be a big dip. Like there's Nick Merckx, the Warzone guy. Well, not quite Warzone, but he's a gamer, he's a streamer. He's got, on the top of his head, where he's worn his headset so much, he has got a dip in the top of his head now. His bone structure is remodeled because he's wearing that headset probably like 10 hours a day. Now, you cannot see that and then go, orthotropics doesn't work. Okay, if you've got your tongue constantly on the roof of your mouth, just applying that pressure in the final third of the mouth, and you're pushing that upwards and forwards in the posterior third, as Mike Mew calls it, well then, yeah, naturally your bone structure is going to grow upwards and forwards. It's going to remodel in a higher position because it's constantly being pushed that way. It just has to go that way, okay? So that's why orthotropics is legit. Now the next one is facial exercises and submental exercises. Now I just explained muscles in orthotropics, so just to quickly run over it, that's why I do facial exercises, to just keep, there's no such thing as muscle tone, okay? It's just when you're lean it looks toned. What you got to do is obviously you're exercising your body all the time. Why are you not exercising your face? So I do certain exercises, for example, like I'll lift my cheekbones up 50 times, or my cheek muscles up 50 times. It just keeps them active, keeps them strong, keeps those muscles strong. The bigger, and they'll grow, it's hypertrophy, okay? You work a muscle, it grows, it gets bigger. So if these muscles get bigger and they stay strong, or they get stronger, if I do more reps or whatever, you can't really do weighted exercises on your face unless somebody invented like a mask or something, right? Well, if they're bigger and they're stronger, they're going to act more, they're going to have more influence on those bones. So it keeps everything in place or it improves it, but it works together with the orthotropics. Now, the submental exercises is something around the neck region and under here. So this is the mental areas, the heads, the brain, right? This is submental. This is the jawline, basically. You've only got one bone in here called the hyoid bone, and it goes straight across there. The higher up that is and the more tucked in that is, the better jawline you're going to have. And the muscles under here for most people, because they're constantly looking down, the muscles under here are flabby. They're loose all the time. They're relaxed. They're not being used. It's like when you're using bicep and tricep, okay? While one is relaxing, the other one's contracting. It's like they call it an antagonistic pair, where you've got a bunch of triangular muscles under here, and because most people are always like that, they're never being used. What's being used is the muscles on the back. It's an antagonistic pair, right? If you're up like that, these are being used a lot more. Good posture, you're looking at screens all day. If you're always like that, bent over and then on your phone, you're going to have a weak jawline. If you strengthen up these muscles, it tightens up this region. They become stronger. They become larger. They have more influence on this hyoid bone. You can search this, okay? And it'll push this backwards and in. It'll give you the appearance of a better jawline. Nobody does submental exercises. I'm telling you. I might be the only person that's ever promoted this shit. Nobody ever looks into it. I'm pretty sure I invented it. There's certain exercises that I do, for example, like this. You can go to the side to get just under here. One I've been doing recently is like this. And yeah, it looks fucking weird, right? But at the same time, it strengthens up all of this. Like I hang off the end of my bed or like the couch, if you would, sofa, and I like tilt my head back. And I'll like bring it back up. And the amount of strain you get, and sometimes I go all the way to this point. And when you squeeze there, you can really feel the muscles tightening up, okay? Now be safe when you're doing these. But I also, sometimes I use plates in the gym. I'll wear this because it's padding. I'll rest the plate on my head and I'll do neck exercises. If you build up all this region under here, nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is training these areas. Some people are accidentally good looking. Like they'll do like certain things, like boxers. I've got to do a video soon on how UFC fighters are a prime example of the male advantage. Now, it's because a lot of UFC fighters and boxers are probably the only people alive, along with racing drivers, also a great-looking bunch, who train their necks and their submental areas, because they have to have strong areas around here. They kind of accidentally are good-looking. They're always biting down on, like, gum shields, boxers and whatever, so they end up building up good jaws. They're always clenching and whatnot, and they end up building up good faces. They have low body fat percentage. They're just, like, accidentally good-looking, and when they go into their, like, 40s, you get people like Michael Bisping, where he's wearing, he's done his eye, but he's wearing a suit, and you're like, fuck me, this guy's in his 40s, he looks fantastic. Anderson Silva doesn't exactly look bad, okay? There's like all these guys, like Mayweather still looks fantastic. It's prime example. Luke Rockhold, like some of the best looking guys are fighters, and it's like, how does this make sense? They get punched in the face, but I'm doing a separate video on this soon. It's gonna be so interesting. Now the next one is 10% body fat. If you've not been down to 10% body fat, no idea how good looking you can really be. Okay, 10% body fat is like the ultimate limit for a man. Like anything below that starts to look a little bit ill, a little bit sickly, but 10% body fat is when you look in the mirror and go, wow, I actually have cheekbones. I actually have a jawline. I actually do have hollow cheeks. It's just nobody could see it because I was a big puffy water buffalo with a beard. But like, you could shave it all off, get down to 10% body fat, look in the mirror, and these buccinator muscles here, I've got to explain hollow cheeks to you as well. I'll do that next. But these buccinated muscles here are like so small and weak that they've hollowed out. Okay, and it's another part of orthotropics. Another part of orthotropics isn't necessarily muscle usage. Mike Mew taught me the ability to not use a muscle. So you've got these buccinator muscles here. Somebody might be sucking through a straw, might be playing an instrument. When you swallow, they might be swallowing here, which is it's called an infantile suckle. Like when babies get used to suckling milk, they do it with food. If you never evolve to an adult swallow, which is just swallowing with your throat here and not these cheeks, well, you swallow about 2,000 times a day. So eventually, simple muscle atrophy. If you don't use it, you lose it. You break your arm, it gets smaller. You don't use it for a while, okay? These buccinator muscles here will get smaller and they hollow out. It's another easy way, a very easy way to make yourself good looking. As long as you should do it anyway, but you won't see that shit until you're low percentage body fat. That's why it's a big difference. But in terms of 10% body fat, you have to get there at some point, but don't do it too soon. Don't just cut right away. Like, do the necessary bulks. Play the long game, guys. I often say, don't get in shape for this summer. You don't have enough time. Get in shape for the next summer or the one after that. Like, if you're like 27 years old and you're like, shit, I really need to give yourself 3 years. What is wrong with having the perfect body at 30? I think that's amazing. I would sacrifice 3 years. I basically fucking have, okay? I've really dedicated to it. I kind of started my fitness again at like 27. By 30, I'm going to have my exact perfect body after another year of bulking. Like, that's the thing. I've got lean now. I'm like 11% body fat right now because I went back into maintenance. I could stop now and be like, I'm 86 kilograms and 6'2" and 11% body fat. I look good. I feel good. I got like the lean face back and whatever. I'm getting women. But I'm like, no, I want to go again. I want to bulk again. It's a necessary sacrifice to go around that cycle again. Because I know at the other side, I'll look even better. It's a long game. Everyone wants to be good looking tomorrow. It could take 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, you know. Next one is water retention. This is massive. I'm doing a diuretic supplement soon so that guys can just take 2 tablets a day and flush all the water out of their face and body. They'll look leaner. They'll look more attractive in the face, whatever. I did it through lowering my carbs to 80 to 100 grams per day. I've currently got that back up to about 150 because I'm back into maintenance. I feel a slight little bit more puffiness in my face. Is what it is. It doesn't bother me. It's all part of the game. I can bring that back in a week if I wanted to. But I drank more, but I also took dandelion extract, which is a natural diuretic, which is why I want to make my own supplement so that it's like more potent. It's got a few extra ingredients in. I've kind of figured out how it works now. So I'm probably going to release that in the future. I just think it'd be cool to have that on you as a guy. You come out of work, you took one of those just before you left work, you go into the bar, you look lean, you know, cheekbones are showing, jawline's looking good, you get laid that night. Like, it's after a rough day at work, maybe you haven't drank enough, whatever, maybe you've eaten too many carbs at lunch, like, it makes you look good. Like, I think the important thing to do there, but water retention is massive. You really have to focus on it. You eat too many carbs, you'll store a ton of water, too much sodium in your diet, too much salt. You know, Himalayan salt, sea salt, they're pretty good, but I still wouldn't. Your body doesn't need that much, okay? You know, sugars do the same. Simple carbs are probably the worst for it. You know, lack of sleep, you'll store a ton of water. You just basically, guys, just live well. If you live well, dandelion extract, or my supplement when it comes out, drink a ton of water. You know, you're gonna look pretty good, okay? Avoid alcohol. Salt intake shouldn't be that high. Like, it's pretty easy to do. It'll make you look a lot better. Great skin and darker eyebrows. They're like 2 cheat codes. If your skin's like bright and glowing, which a lot of it will come from exercise and diet. But at the same time, every guy should be exfoliating. You should have like a coffee scrub or something where you exfoliate every morning. Then you put some like organic, raw, unrefined shea butter on your skin. Just a minimal amount. You don't need too much. You don't want to look greasy. But you put that on or whatever, it'll make you look a lot better. Not every guy can grow beards, but stuff like beard oils and castor oil, which is what I'll get to now. But every guy has eyebrows, and what you should be doing is wiping. Like every night, I like dip my finger in the extra dark Jamaican castor oil, and I'll just rub it across my eyebrows, back and forth until it's all covered. Wake up in the morning, I go to the gym, whatever, I have a shower, it washes it all off. My eyebrows always look thick. It just keeps them looking thick. the thicker your eyebrows are, just tend, like, even if you're a blonde guy, the better your face just seems to look. It's almost like hair on your head. It just gives you an extra punch, okay? So it's a very easy way to just stay on top. And that stuff, that castor oil stuff is brilliant. I put it all in my beard and stuff. I'm growing my beard out right now as I'm going to do like a series for myself, like creating my hyper masculine character that I spoke about before. I'm going to show you like how I'm creating this character. The transformation is something I'm going to look into. And one thing I'm doing is growing my beard out so that when I get my SMP, I'm going to get it all shaped up, and that's, you know, going to be my new image. It might be silly, but I just like trying stuff, seeing how it goes. Now the next one is aesthetic focused fitness. So a lot of you have seen recently, I did that chest workout and I said aesthetics over strength. A little bit misleading because I've actually done a ton of strength work in the past. Like whenever I bulk or I go into maintenance like I am now, I was at the gym today, I was doing strength work. I was just trying to beat all my PBs and I felt really, really strong. But there comes a time where you look at the end of your cut and you look in the mirror and you go, look, I'm lean, I look good. There's certain parts of my body that are brilliant. Like for me, it was my back and my triceps and whatever. But I was like, my biceps and my chest look small. My traps look small. Okay, well, let's dedicate an entire month or two to just doing chest training and get specific. Like I did those forward-facing, knees up, like kind of C-shaped dips, where I was like doing weighted dips and I was leaning forwards and I was making it chest dominant, taking the back, shoulders and triceps out of the equation, and my chest just immediately started popping. You know, I was doing different exercises like where I'm pinching in here and I'm trying to get an extra pop in between my chest. You have to at some point look at your body, not like body dysmorphia, don't get too, you know, hell-bent on this, but just analyze your body and go, okay, that area is slightly weaker than that area is not as proportionate as that area. Like I said, don't go crazy about it, but we all have obvious weaknesses. Most guys, it's their legs. Well, bump that up. Your glutes are small, bump it up. It'll really add something to your frame. You know, glutes, neck, submental exercise, it's like 3 areas that no guy ever trains. I think no guy ever trains them. Like hamstrings get disregarded as well. If you kind of add these to your body, it just bumps you up another notch. Like it just gives you that completeness. It's like a pretty girl with massive tits that has a tiny ass and tiny thighs. Like you just look and just like, please just go to the gym. You'd be a perfect 10 if you went to the gym. And it's because she just doesn't really do a lot. But, you know, for guys, it's like you can have that extra like knock up if you just go, what do I need to like achieve that golden ratio? And like I said, don't take it too far. It can't become obsessive. But it's okay to look in the mirror and be like, legs are a bit small. I'm going to train them more this month. I'm going to do 3 sessions per week on legs. It's worth doing. It'll bump you up a few more points. Now the last one is nice clothes. Same works for assets, okay? Pull up in a nice car. Studies have proven that women prefer it. They just deem you as better looking than what you are. But clothes are a big one. It's something I'm going to attack this year with the hyper-masculine kind of character. I'm going to build the image that I want. I'm going to move a lot more into fashion. I'm going to release a ton of fashion this year, or at least within the next 12 months is what I'm referring to there, not necessarily the calendar year. But once I move into fashion, I'm going to start doing a lot more content on fashion. I'm going to start taking care of my own fashion a lot more, investing a little bit more money into it than I have previously. Because it's just so important. Like there was a guy I used to work with. We'd walk down the road together. He was shorter than me, higher body fat percentages than me, nowhere near as much muscle as me. Not a bad looking guy, but he'd be wearing a suit. And I was kind of the senior at that company, so I didn't really dress up as well. I just couldn't really be bothered. I was answering to nobody. And we'd walk down the street and girls would look at him. But then like when it actually came to an occasion, like a night out or a Christmas party or something like that, I would then dress up and girls would look at me and they wouldn't look at him. And it was like when I actually bothered and made the effort, because he'd get like weekly haircuts, sometimes twice a week. He'd wear like a £400 suit to work. I just wear like these kind of trousers and like a t-shirt or a shirt, like or something like that. I didn't really care. I'd wear casual shoes. He'd wear like a pair of £400 shoes that were like polished and blue and, you know, that sort of shit. I'm not knocking him. He looked great, you know, fair play to him. But girls would look and be like, that guy's wealthy. He's got his shit going on. Like, that's a guy who's well groomed. He must be doing well in life. He can take care of himself, which means he can take care of me. It gets crazy for women. And when you dress up, you just look so much better. Like, there's so many guys like Jack Harlow's a perfect example of this right now. I look at him. I personally see a puffy face. I see somebody who's not in great shape. I kind of see a high percentage body fat around here. I see a lot of water retention. Whereas girls are like, he's so hot, but he's famous, he dresses well, he's got money. right? There's different components. It can like bump you up so much. And like, I'm not saying tap into the fame and the money thing to his extent, but like any guy can dress better because he's walking around with like really nice clothes on. He's dressing high level. He looks like a top level guy. It just kind of adds something to your face. It's like Rick Ross, wildly unattractive guy on the surface when you think about it. But at the same time, when he dresses, you know, in like a fur coat and shades and like he has a cane and he's getting out of a Rolls Royce, obviously women are going to be like, who is that guy? It just bumps you up another notch. But the other things are more important at the start. You know, like fashion and skin and whatever. You can obviously work on that down the line because those things cost money. But everything else on that list, bar a gym membership, is pretty much free, okay, guys? Dandelion extract, whatever. Most of it's pretty much free. But when you're bulking, it doesn't really matter. You're going to have to put 2-3 years in at the start anyway of hard work. But for me, that's the perfect system for LooksMaxxing for any man on the planet. I just think if you're like, most guys, in my opinion, are a 2 to a 4 on average. I don't think average is 5. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense if you go to the top and work your way backwards. So most guys are like a 2 or a 3 or a maximum of 4, but that would be considered a good looking guy, like in the general public. I think most guys with all of that stuff and the work that they would put in can take themselves from like a 3 to a 7. You know, with most of that, and then, you know, wealth, assets, etc. would bump you up in all the other areas, because the best looking guy in the world, if he's broke, means fuck all, really. He might get laid, but he's not top level. So like the maximum a woman can be is a 10 based on her looks. A maximum a man can be based on his looks is like a 7, because there's other components that bump us up. You know, our leadership qualities, our masculinity, body language, confidence. You know, there's other things that mean more to women in their eyes, you know, deeming a man's attractiveness. But any guy, I think, can bump himself up in terms of looks from like a 1 to a 7. Any guy can go from a 1 to a 10 because of all the other areas of life as well. But in terms of looks, I think any guy can go from like a 1, 2 or a 3 up to like a 5, 6 or a 7 with all the things that I listed, hard work over 5, 6 years. If you want to grab our men's lifestyle supplement, Male Advantage ebook, or my personal workout and diet plan, all links are in the bio.